It's a debate over DACA. President Trump and Attorney General Jeff Sessions both weighed in on immigration reform yesterday and spoke out against Democrats unwilling to work toward a solution. Watch.
We're trying to have a DACA victory for everybody, by the way, and the Democrats are nowhere to be found. They're nowhere to be found. It's really terrible. We're ready. You know the expression, ready, willing, and able. We're ready, willing, and able. They are nowhere to be found.
Open borders is a radical, irrational idea that cannot be accepted. The American people will not accept it. It cannot be the policy of a great nation to up and reward those who unlawfully enter its country with legal status, Social Security, welfare, food stamps, work permits, and so forth.
Jeff Sessions, that coming as President Trump will head to California next week. This is his first trip as president to California. He wants to get his first close-up look at the prototypes for his border wall. Joining us now, former presidential candidate and former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee. Governor, it's good to see you, sir. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
You bet, Maria. By the way, I think that the president is actually looking at those walls not to be on the border between Mexico, but between the border of California and the rest of the United States.
Right.
Because of California's decision not to want to play ball with the rest of the country.
It's pretty incredible, actually, isn't it, Governor? I mean, to see the Oakland mayor come out and warn all the illegals, you know, go take cover because the ICE guys are coming to pick you up. They could have arrested a lot more had she not warned everybody. And meanwhile, you know, Jeff Sessions is basically saying you put our law enforcement in jeopardy.
Well, I just want to remind some people, back in my home state of Arkansas in 1957, the governor of that state stood in front of Central High School's doors and said that African-American children couldn't enter, and it took federal intervention. That didn't end well for Little Rock and for Arkansas, and it took a lot of years to get that stain off of the state. It's gone now, but that was an ugly mess. California seems to be just daring the federal government to enforce its laws, and it's ridiculous that California thinks that it's his own country. It isn't, never has been, and I'll ask you this question. What do you think would be the reaction on the left if some pro-life governor decided that he just said, I'm going to defy all federal law, and there will be no more abortions in my state, period, end of story, that's it, not going to have any legislation, I'm just going to order it, that no more abortions. Yeah. How would that go over with the left if a state decided to do that?
You're right.
Not well, I'm assuming.
And any law, right? You blow off the federal law, Mary.
Yeah, Governor Mary Kissel here. You're a longtime politician. Explain to us what Democrats are thinking, not just in California, but on DACA, refusing to come to the table and deal with the Trump administration. What's the strategy there on the left?
Mary, it appears their only strategy is to stop Donald Trump, to be an obstructionist to him, and hoping that the voters dislike Donald Trump as much as the far left of the Democratic Party does. I think they forget the election results of 2016. There were a lot of their fellow Democrats who crossed over the aisle to vote for Donald Trump in states like Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and other states that caused him to be president. And I think they're making a huge mistake, especially when they continue to insult those voters by saying that a $2,500 bonus or a $1,000 pay raise is nothing but a crumb. It's a huge tactical and strategic error on the part of left-leaning Democrats.
Hey, Governor, it's Mike Murphy. Just focusing on California again for a second, what is the fallout for an elected politician if they choose not to, so being like you being a governor, if they choose not to enforce federal law, what's the fallout and what's the potential damage they face?
Mike, I think it's that ultimately this will go to the Supreme Court. They'll probably win at the Ninth Circuit because it's out in the ocean. It's so far out there beyond the California borders. But when this gets all the way to the Supreme Court, even liberal justices cannot sit there and in good conscience say, yep, you can have a state just defying what is clearly in the federal law. Because if they create that precedent, you're going to have 50 little fiefdoms out there, and every governor will become his own president. And even the most liberal Supreme Court justice cannot allow that to become precedent in federal law.
Governor, it's Dagan McDowell. I always think about Congress, though, because Congress controls the power of the purse. And if you want to ultimately punish these states, you do it by, in the law, in future funding, withholding that federal money from these jurisdictions. Now, of course, the court rules that you can't do it retroactively, but we can do it looking forward. And with the Republicans controlling, at least for the time being, the House and the Senate, why aren't they doing more with that?
Well, that's a great point, Dagan, and I honestly think that Congress should do exactly that, is to say to California, hey, you don't want to be a part of the federal government? Then fine. No highway funds, no Medicaid dollars. Look, this is grabbing California by the shorts and pulling hard and giving them a wedgie like has never been seen before in the history of federal government. And that's what they very much should be doing. But I don't know if Congress has that kind of courage. It would be a real message to say, no more money. You don't want to be a part of the country? Okay, well, there you are.
Jeff Sessions has threatened that, though. I mean, and the president also alluded to that. So it's not out of the way. You're saying Congress won't have the courage to do it, but the president has threatened it. Well,
they threatened it, but they haven't done it yet. And I think it's time to pull the trigger and make it happen.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What about Jeff Flake's bill on the DACA program, making so-called Dreamers eligible for Obamacare? According to the Congressional Budget Office, his legislation also offers original DACA recipients a new 3-year legal status in exchange for $7 billion for the border wall. Governor, your response to that, would this fly?
No. I mean, I think Jeff Flake is trying out for a talking head position at MSNBC at this point, because he certainly isn't going to get that through the Republicans in Congress, and James Lankford has already blocked it, so that isn't going to happen. And I'm not sure what his strategy is. I mean, that's simply not going to happen. He has zero influence right now with fellow Republicans, and he's a lame duck. He's going out at the end of the year. I don't think Democrats will jump on that. Democrats can't even jump on the very generous deal that Donald Trump laid on the table. Yeah. That's what is so absolutely astonishing about the DACA deal.
Yeah, they
got more than they wanted, and they say no.
They don't want to see his agenda executed. I mean, it's pretty clear at this point.
I was going to say...
Yeah, go ahead, Governor.
Yasser Arafat did a similar thing back in 2005 when basically the then Prime Minister of Israel said, here, 95% of everything you want. He looked at it and said, no, not enough, walked away. And it's almost like that... in this case, the Democrats and Chuck Schumer are playing the role of Yasser Arafat. They've told us what they don't want, but they really can't define what they do want.